You get that? Recording in progress.
Man.
It's serious.
And I asked me if I was okay with that, basically.
And you say yes.
I did.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it was a hesitant yes, but I said yes.
All right, watch what you say. This is recorded.
All right.
And will be pushed out to the millions of people. Gotta be
Around.
careful. You think you're selling houses now? Just wait.
That's all I need. More calls.
Yeah. Well, I'm hanging out with Carmen Winters, realtor extraordinaire.
I appreciate that. It was nice to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. You I mean, you sold me two houses.
2 houses and we sold one.
Yeah, you sold me one, then we sold it, and then I bought the new one.
Yeah.
Where I'm at now. But
Yeah.
we'll get in
The bar, it looks great there.
yeah, right. I mean, this is the selling point. It was this was the rustic kitchen or Panera bread. Was it Panera bread? No, not Panera bread. Rustic kitchen or something else. I forget. I had two comparisons for this place though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been using this as my backdrop for almost 2 years now, 1.5 years.
Yeah.
But
like I'm used to seeing you like with that backdrop now.
Yeah. Who would I be if I didn't have this backdrop?
Yeah.
But I met Carmen, before he became a successful realtor, and we'll get into that. But I met you during our time at the Weekender.
Yes.
And the Weekender, for anyone who doesn't know, was at one time the leader, or the Bible, so to speak, for arts and entertainment in Northeastern Pennsylvania. I keep saying RIP. I'll keep saying that till it's actually dead for good. I think it prints once a month now on a Thursday.
I just saw a copy of it the other day. I stopped at Jersey Mike's for a sub for lunch.
Okay.
And it was in there. I was like, oh man, I haven't seen one of these, and I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't flip through it, but it was present, and it was the first time I had seen one in a long time.
Well, it only take you like 6 seconds to flip through it.
Yeah, I know. I've been following your other some of your other guests, and I know that it's certainly just not the product that it was, at least as I remember it either. And I don't know at what point during the years that I was affiliated with the product, if that was the heyday. I remember certain weeks were just crazy, especially this time of year coming up with St. Patrick's Day.
That was like the kickoff. Like we were kind of in a lull, January, February. I think that's the case with most businesses, but yeah, it was getting ready for St. Patty's Day, and that was kind of like the start of the craziness. You're right.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I think there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't exist the way it did, and it's a lot because of the internet. Places started advertising their what was going on for free on their social media pages.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I just don't know. I don't know why. Like, I just don't agree with it just being like, because it stopped printing like a month or two before the pandemic hit, back in like January of 2020. Okay. And then it didn't pick back up until probably 6 months ago. And it was they were putting it out like the last Thursday of the month. And I just don't understand that the whole concept of a Weekender, put out on a Thursday once a month.
Yeah. Seems, it's just different now. I mean, it used to be as you've well documented. I mean, it was like, it was the Bible. It was what you grabbed one. It was like, okay, what's going on this weekend? Let's make our game plan. And it's just not. It's just so the spread of information now is just so different, and that's really probably the reason why it's it's no longer what it is.
Just let it die. That's what I'm saying. Just let it die.
Yeah.
It's like, let's have some dignity for the people like me and you.
Yeah.
Come on. But yeah, you were a young man. You were a student at Wilkes University.
I was
a young intern. I was somehow your like advisor or your like overseer or whatever it was.
Yeah, right. I remember thinking like, it was all very positive, and I didn't really know what to expect. And so I'm trying to think of how that actually came to be. That probably through Sharon Castano.
Oh yeah, of course.
So and Sharon was great. She was just one of those people that you'd see on campus, and just she'd say, "Hey, how's everything going? What are you up to?" And you just chat for a few minutes, and we got to know each other a little bit, and an opportunity arose with the Weekender. And I remember her saying, "I think you'd be a really good fit there. Why don't you why don't I set you up over there for an interview? I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds amazing. And again, at the time, you have to remember, I like to be, social and talking to people and out there. And I remember, that to me was like, this is like a dream internship. Like I get to go out and socialize and hang out at bars and meet people and get credit for school. This is going to be amazing. So I remember, being really excited about it, but also not sure what to expect. And I remember you were like, I think it was probably you and maybe trying to think who else interviewed me. I don't know if Rachel did or if she was involved or if it was someone else, but you were probably like the first person I met there.
It's funny. I have a great memory, but I don't remember interviewing you. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was you, it was Sean Eicher, and was it Bridget O'Connor? Was it the three of you?
Yep.
Great intern class.
It was great. And Lauren Stevens was with us too. And so
right.
and we had
was it Ashley Gibson?
No, she was one before us, I think. Or one after, but she was around that time too.
There were 4 of you?
Yeah.
Was it Chris, the photographer? Are you thinking of?
No, but I remember Chris.
Yeah.
He was there too.
I don't know.
There.
But yeah, it's probably Rachel and I who interviewed you, or just Rachel. And she gave me to whoever.
Said, here, take these guys.
Yeah, take these kids. Just, make sure they don't hurt themselves.
Yeah. We almost did, probably. I actually did on the couch, if you remember that.
Dude, I mean, there's 2 moments of your internship that have me dying every time I think of it. And it's you falling in the office over the couch. I don't even know how that happened. Your foot got stuck in the middle and right down.
And it was like not at all gracious. I couldn't catch myself. It was a bad one. And and I know, like, even if you ask like Nikki and Janelle and Tiffany, I mean, they would certainly all remember that too. It was like everybody was in the room.
Yeah.
I think we were there to like maybe count like Weekender awards or something.
Reader's Choice. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think we were all there for that. So it was like everybody there trying to like chip in, because at that time it wasn't done digitally, right? So we were like collecting paper and trying to sort it all out.
Yeah, that was 2007.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's like forever ago.
So it's so funny. I was just upstairs and I was just thinking about this, and I was like, geez, I'm so excited to talk to John. We do stay in touch regularly, but not necessarily in a filmed format. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, God, we've known each other for 15 years. Like, I can't believe I can say that, and it makes me feel really old. And I don't feel very old, but I'm 36, and I'm like, wow, geez, that was 15 years ago. Like, I can't get over that.
It's wild. And it's funny that you said it too, because I was thinking the same thing. And 15 years ago, it doesn't sound like that long ago, but like it feels like forever ago.
Yeah.
15 years, no big deal. But it was forever ago.
Yeah, but if you said that when you were like 18, which at that point you seem like, oh, I've been around so long. 15 years ago, pal, you were 3. So,
it's
like,
true.
Seems like that stretch is like 15 years. Oh, it's got to be so long. But then again, and I say this, I think you and I have talked about this in the past too. Like the years of like, I don't know, 2010 to like 2014, like
they don't exist.
I don't even know. Like I couldn't distinguish one. It's just all seems like it was just all mushed together and it went by fast. And then I was married and now 2 kids, and so it just kind of like that timeline just really sped up during that period.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for me, and I'll say this out loud because I know my wife probably won't listen to this, but
she might.
She won't. She's like, yeah, I'm supportive from afar.
It's funny. Jesse didn't know that I was going to be on film. I'm like, I'm not really sure where I'm going to do this. She's like, what? Why does it matter? I'm like, oh, because it's like it's a podcast. Like I'm going to be like on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna put you all over Facebook and the YouTubes. Yeah,
all the tubes.
All the tubes. Not the bad ones though. Not the bad ones.
No,
not the R-rated versions.
Oh no.
But no, I feel like before I met her, and like even the first like couple years that we were together, I remember things. But like a lot of my life and a lot of my memories are formed around like events.
Yeah.
I could tell you when a CD was released, like within like probably a month or two, even sometimes to like the week or even a few days. And it was because like there was always something going on. Like it was like a weekender event, or maybe it was a different girl you were seeing, or like all these things that like kind of like were like marks in your life that like I could just kind of form memories around. And then when I started seeing Amanda for, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's just kind of, you're still here.
Yeah. Yeah, I
We're doing
know.
the same shit,
Yeah, you're exactly
but
right. I know.
I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, you've seen my wife, and way too attractive for me, way too smart for me. I don't know what I did to deserve it, but I am not going to ask questions.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say otherwise. I think you hit it on the head there. You've done extremely well for yourself as far as your home life is concerned. Yeah, she's great. Amazing. Beautiful, intelligent, um, a great mom. Which
Yeah.
I've seen her interact with Lincoln. So it's just a great thing that you have. I'm really, I think we've always had this kind of mutual respect for each other, and um, I think it's amazing what you've built for yourself.
Yeah. And you too. I mean, the success you've had as a realtor in the last, 4 or 5 years, and we're going to get into how you got there, but it's just been um, so great to see. You yourself married with 2 kids now.
Yeah.
I think your son was born around the same time as mine. Your first one?
Pretty close. So Jack will be 4 actually next week.
Right. Okay.
So the 22nd. And so yeah, so when's Lincoln's birthday? He's
And
in
Lincoln turned 4 just end of December. So yeah, within 2.5 months. Yeah.
Yeah. And Charlie just turned 2 last month. So they're almost 2 years apart. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's as you know, it's been we have our ups and downs. It's amazing. I love it.
I always love your stories of the battles that we face as parents. It's just
Yeah.
common.
It's funny. Jesse and I were going to a concert tomorrow night, and my mother-in-law is watching the kids, and they're sleeping at her house. And I was on my way home from work earlier. I had to go in today and do some stuff. And she said, "Hey, can you run to?" We had to order something for Jack. She said, "Can you run to Target and pick it up?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." It was already there. And on my way home, I texted her. I said, "Are we all good at the house? What do we need?" She said, "I just need help packing their bags for tomorrow." I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll help you when I get back." She's like, "Well, I hope you will, because I just argued with a 4-year-old for 25 minutes about underwear." I'm like, "All right, well, when I get home, I'm
Roll up the sleeves.
happy to chip in. We'll figure it out." But that's these are the types of things that you do now. So
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. Like Lincoln, I hear stories like that, and he's never. I think and maybe it's like twice because I have it documented, but there was only like two times he was like really just like we gave him a broken cracker, and it was like at the end of the day, and that just wasn't going to fly for him.
Yeah.
He was young, but he's never like he's not. I don't know what it is about him. He's just not like phased, I guess I could say.
yeah, no, see, Jax is very like he's everything's got to be. It's got to be a certain way, like, and if you deviate from that even a little bit, like you try to like pull the wool over his eyes and be like, he'll never notice. Instantly, like he's on you about it. And it's like,
Yeah.
how are you so attentive to detail? Like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
But it's how he is. Yeah.
Lincoln's the same way, but he just like kind of like he'll be like, "Why is that not there?" And then it's just kind of like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah. So he takes it though. But that's kind of how you are. Like you always have a real
Even
pretty deal. Yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
you have this way about you in that regard.
I've been told that.
Yeah.
I've been told that. I
Well,
get mad every now and then.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes, I think that's why you've had a successful career in sales and building relationships and all those things, is because I think that's helpful. And I think that, the demeanor that you always have seems to put people, at ease, and they can build a relationship with you in that way.
Yeah. You remember Carmen? You remember Kieran, right?
Yeah, of course.
Kieran Inglis.
Yeah.
We were on a sales call when he was like,
White House Diner, by the way.
"What's that?"
Is he in the restaurant business now?
Yeah, him and his wife, they bought the White House Diner.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a great place. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out White House Diner.
That was White House Diner.
I have yet to get over there. But
now that I know for sure that he owns it, I'd like to support him. Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But when he was one of my sales guys, he always used to say that I would like basically mind fuck people, and like not in a bad way, but like we would be talking and I would present what we were like, you know, the pitch or whatever it was. And we were just kind of like, they would be quiet and I would just stare back at them. Like, and we were just kind of like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. And he's like, how the fuck did you just do that? I'm like, bro,
I don't know.
I showed them what we had to offer. They liked it and they said, okay.
Yeah, but
No.
I think it's that they trusted you with that. You know, like
Yeah.
you were never one to.
Well, I always tried to like take things to people that made sense. You know, you would never go and pitch, a golf show or whatever kind of thing to, I don't know, name it a florist or something. I don't know, whatever. You can probably spin it which way any which way you could, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you were an intern at the Weekender, 2007, and then you graduated, I think, like a year or so later.
Yeah, May 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where did you go? I mean, I kind of remember, but I kind of don't.
Yeah, so for a period of time after graduation, so if you remember, there was, they always wanted you to do at least one internship, preferably two. So my time at the Weekender was done, I picked up a second internship, which was a paid internship through a group called Instructors Network. But Instructors Network also had a local website called mynipa.com.
Yes.
And so I'm looking. It's funny because I was thinking about this earlier too, about kind of my career history, and MyNipa really, if you look at some of these local sites now, like Discover NEPA, right? Like that's really what the goal was for that. And looking back on it now, like 14, 15 years ago, which is crazy to say again, it just wasn't there. The business community wasn't necessarily, fully buying into that yet. But having, profiles for, businesses, venues, kind of like a sort of a built-in social media into a local website. That's kind of what the goal was at that time, without really knowing that. Now knowing what products are out there and what different sites that exist, that was really the kind of the summary of what the goal was for that product. But also, that company also did, instructor-led training for in the pharmaceutical industry. So we would, for example, create sales training material that would be instructor-led for sales force of a pharma company. So, for example, we would do like what's called a train the trainer event. We would bring, maybe 30 trainers. I didn't even know this industry existed. We would bring 30 software trainers into a room for a long weekend, train them over 3 days on what the product was, and then those trainers would actually go out and meet with, those let's say pharma reps or medical sales reps, and actually train them on how to use their own software that they can adapt to their sales force. So it was really that was a unique side of the business, and also did website development. So those were the types of services that we were able to offer, and that was kind of the backbone of the company. But the kind of the pet project of the owner at the time was, he really wanted a local website that showcased events, businesses, all the local affiliated sports teams, high schools, all those things. And so looking back on it again, it was it was kind of ahead of its time in terms of what's available today, and kind of the buy-in that we've had from all these different sites now.
Yeah, it was really difficult because even like the Weekender, we tried to enter a digital landscape, and a few different things happened. I think it was, there was never a financial. Are you drinking a beer?
I'm enjoying a Sam Adams Cold Snap. It's a nice seasonal beverage that we like to have around the house this time of year.
I'm a big Sam Adams fan. I'm drinking water. Drinking water.
No beer for you this evening, John?
No, I'm recovering from there was a 24-hour stomach bug that I believe that I had.
I had it as well. Maybe the same one.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been this sick in a long, long time. This was Tuesday. This was Tuesday, like late night, like midnight to 6 a.m. I was up the entire time, back and forth in the bathroom, as gross as it sounds, both ends.
Things are happening.
It was bad. I remember when I woke up and I'm like, I can't go to work. I called off like legit sick for the first time, and I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And then like I laid in bed all day and my entire body hurt. my knees hurt, like all my joints hurt, my freaking teeth hurt. And I'm like, is this the flu? And I ruled out COVID because the vomiting was not a COVID symptom, I don't believe. But as the day went on, I mean, I was in bed all day. As the day went on, I started feeling better, and I think I ate soup and a piece of toast come like 7 o'clock. Had some Gatorade in bed by 9. Woke up today and felt a lot better.
I had something similar. I'm trying to think of when this would have been, about a month ago, I'd say. And maybe a little less, but a month, it was 3 weeks, something like that. And it was like 2 or 3 days. I felt horrible stomach bug. I didn't eat anything. I remember joking with all my buddies about, like, I was like, I think I'm down like 8 pounds. I'm like, I gotta do this, like I can do this a couple of times a year, maybe. This is great. But it was a brutal couple of days. And of course, the slack has to be picked up at home by my wife, and she's dealing with me, who's, whining about being sick, and the kids are at 100. And so I give her a lot of credit for always, stepping up to the plate when I'm being a baby about being sick.
I know, they're the best.
Yeah.
They always remind us what babies we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that too. Yeah.
Man cold.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you were feeling sick. I'll drink a Sam Adams in your honor.
drink one for me. And that was the same. So I told you I've been auditioning for a reality show. I can't tell you what it's called. I can't tell you what network it's on. I can't tell you anything because I've already received emails that said, please don't talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, wild.
Well, I hope that, whatever that happens to be, I hope it's something that, is of interest to you and that you're excited about it. And
well, I mean, the timing is not great. That would be filming soon-ish, and we have Disney planned in April, at the end of April. So I don't know if that's.
What date are you going down there?
April. Where is it? April 23rd through the 28th.
So I will also. This is unbelievable. All right, we are also going to Florida during that period, and we're not going to Orlando, but we're staying, within a drivable distance. And we've decided that we are definitely going to Disney for a day. So we should absolutely plan to meet up with the kids. It'll be so fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That just got better. If I'm not,
right.
I don't know. So, I mean, it's not something I want to postpone. It's not something that I want to miss, because right now it's me, my wife, my son, and my mother's coming with us.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be his first time there. And this was supposed to happen in April of 2020, but obviously COVID hit, and then it got pushed back to October 2020, and then it got pushed back again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like, I mean, do I say no? Like, if I get to because I've been like, I thought for sure they would have like just stopped contacting me since we started, because I had to answer.
I'm not that interesting. What?
I'm not at all. Like, I'm like, and I said that too. I'm like, this is weird. And so I answered questions. I had to do like a short video. Then I had an hour-long like phone call, and then next thing I know, they're saying, okay, we want to move forward and schedule a Zoom interview with you. It's 2.5 hours long, which was this past Tuesday.
Right.
Which was when we were supposed to record this, but so then even after that, they've been like asking for more things and asking me to fill out this and fill out that. Like, so I guess they had to get all this stuff together to do a reel and submit to the producers and things like that. I imagine at that point it would go no further, but here we are.
Wow. Well, I think it's amazing. Whatever. I mean, like I said, whatever it is, I hope it's something I can watch. That's really the bottom line. I hope. Yeah. I love to see.
Yeah. But so yeah, the last couple of days have been a little bit of a whirlwind. Like, I got pretty buzzed up during the interview. I'm like, I can't do this sober. Like, if they want me at my best, like the unfiltered Johnny, like I have to. I probably had a couple too many, but so then I woke up like, and I thought maybe it was just like, oh, maybe I had something bad to eat. And I mean, like, I wasn't like hammered or anything like that, to the point where I was really sick. So I woke up, I threw up, things like that, but then it kept happening, and I'm like, this is something else is going on here.
Yeah.
But my biggest concern was passing it along to my wife or child.
You have to think about these things now.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, we kind of got off topic there. We were talking about, the like the internet back in, I think it was like 2009, 2010, when, we kind of like, for us, when the weekend was trying to enter this digital space, and we didn't get a lot of support financially from the powers that be. Like, they're like, go do it, like sell ad space online. Um, and then, to try and make it compelling to try and drive traffic to the site, we did things like the weekend sessions and things like that. Is, so we had more than just, so here's the weekender issue online, like you can buy an ad around it. But we didn't get really financial support from, like I said, the powers that be. And at the time, a lot of people just didn't get it. They're like, well, I've been in the weekender for 10, 15 years. Like, why would I do this? I don't want to do that. Like, this works, and I don't want to, like, kind of, go outside of that world.
Yeah. And I
So
said to a lot of people too, like the whole, especially during my time when I worked there, the entire newspaper industry as a whole, not at the local level, not with the Times Leader or Citizens Voice or Scranton Times, but the big players around the country and really probably around the world, unfortunately let the cat out of the bag regarding free content for so long that trying to then recapture that in some capacity, it was just such an uphill battle. So, regarding now, you're seeing some papers with paywall and that's becoming just kind of more commonplace, but it took 15 years for this to happen.
yeah,
And so I think, introducing, online ads and paid content, which, the content should be, supported by the community, right? Like everybody's read an article, but yet they don't necessarily want to pay for the person who, took the time, energy, and resources to make that happen. And so certainly the content is worthwhile to be, paid for. And I've always been a proponent of supporting the papers. I think they're a necessity, whether the format needs to be printed or not. I think there's, yes and no regarding that. I think people have different points of view on that. Some people just, whether it's just their daily routine, right? I like to flip through the paper. I like to touch it. I like to have my coffee and read the articles and do that as opposed to sitting in front of my computer or on my phone. But I think the content itself, right? Like what you're reading, is worthwhile of being, people being compensated for that. And so, but I think, like we said, I think, years and years ago when all of a sudden you paid for a paper, but then could read the same content online for nothing for so long, it just set a precedent that was really hard to recapture then.
Well, that's like everything. I mean, you had music at one point being free online. So then to try and get people to pay for it, and now you're paying 10, $11 a month for an unlimited,
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I mean,
catalog of music. It's just like,
right. And you'd run to like, Gallery of Sound or
dude,
the Wall or something, right? And paid like $20 for a CD,
that was my favorite. It was my favorite thing to do. Like when they came out on Tuesdays, like the new releases were on Tuesdays. Now I think they're Fridays. I can't remember now. But like that was like a great like break in the week for me. Like I would always go to Gallery of Sound, and even if I went the longest time, I tried just doing the whole record store, but I would go in there and I would buy something regardless of if I wanted to like get something in particular or just buy it because I was in there. And I would spend like $50 a week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this just doesn't financially doesn't make sense anymore. I can't do it. And I feel badly. I did my best. I really did.
Yeah.
Give it the old college try.
Yeah.
But
but that's true. It's part of like, even like when we were kids, and it's funny, you see these memes online and I always kind of laugh at them, probably because they're true. But, I read something the other day. It was a funny meme. It was like, you got to tell your 11-year-old self that, you just went to Blockbuster. You have GoldenEye and N64. You have your buddies coming over for pizza and popcorn, and like you have 2 movies. Like this is going to be the highlight of your life.
yeah,
But like going to Blockbuster and like all that, like going there, like that was fun. It was an experience that, hopefully at some point I think will come back. I just had a conversation with some family members about shopping malls, and I said, like, for me personally, like maybe I'm unique in this regard. I don't like to buy clothes online at all.
Sure.
Like at all. Every time I do, I regret it. It doesn't fit right. I hate the material. The pants are like tight in the ass or something. It's like, all right, this is like, why did I do this to myself? And then
Yeah.
you have the hassle of like, all right, now I got to figure out how to return this. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's like, I like to, I'm a traditional shopper in clothing sense. Household items, like where I know what I'm getting, like whatever it is, like the dog food or toilet paper or
Yeah. A spatula, whatever.
yeah, whatever, right? Like I know what I'm getting. Okay, give me Amazon. Well, let's do that. But as far as like things that I need to feel and touch and like see if I really like it or try it on or whatever, I think there's a need for that. And I think there was definitely like, especially when we were younger, there was a, sort of a social element about going to the mall that kids these days don't have.
It was
That was kind of a cool place to hang out.
It was a big day out. I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up in the country, so like going to the mall was like a big
Yeah,
deal.
you were at Hunlock Creek, right?
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
big deal. It was a whole day.
We're going to the mall, John.
I remember we used to go to like the Red Barons game, and it felt like a lifetime to get there. It was like
Right?
45 minutes. As a kid, though, lifetime.
Yeah. I remember being a little kid, and my first memory of like a Red Barons game was knowing that we were getting close I could tell like when we were on 81 and you'd get off the montage exit, you know how the lights would have
Yes,
the
that's it.
big balls
Same.
that they would change, right? I was like, oh, this is amazing. We're getting close.
Yep, same.
But I remember the lights would change. I'd be like, oh, we got a different style of light. We are the big time now. We're headed. Yeah. But I
Same.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
This was like
that's amazing.
So I remember I grew up in Carbondale. There wasn't, the Casey Highway didn't exist then. So you would have to like kind of, you have to like go through the towns a bit to get to 81. So it took like 20 minutes longer than what it does now. You can get there in like 25 minutes. It was like in those days, it was probably a 40-minute drive. At least in my mind, it was. I'll ask my parents and they'll say, no, it was the same distance that you're just, but yeah, it was like, it was a car ride to go to music. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy to think about? Like, oh, the O'Neill Highway didn't exist.
Yeah.
The Cross Valley didn't exist at one point. It's like, what? They built this? It took how long?
Yeah.
What did you do before?
Yeah, I'm thinking about like, not the Cross Valley is certainly like extremely convenient. Me working in Kingston, and I have to tell you, until I worked in Kingston, I really didn't realize how great of a location that is. Like, you can get anywhere in the valley in like 10 or 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I just didn't recognize like that because I had never worked, having an office there. But I jump on Rudder Ave. I'm on the Cross Valley, and I'm like, I'm going in either direction in a couple minutes, and it's like, this is great. I'm really centralized here.
Yeah.
But yeah, to think that didn't exist probably not that long ago. I don't know. I didn't grow up in Luzerne County, so I don't remember when that was constructed. But
I don't know either. But it wasn't that long ago.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't.
But
yeah, it's not so beat up, so it can't be that old.
No. But going back to the whole like Blockbuster thing, like I used to love going and looking at a movie with Amanda. Like that was a Friday night thing. Like we go pick out a movie, grab a pizza. Yeah. Even when I was younger, like that was Friday night came and like we were at the video store. And like I remember it was such a like you rushed there and hoping like the small video store that was next to us, like they only had like one or two copies of the movie you wanted to see.
Right.
So like you had to get there and you had to pray.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's like I don't even know. Like my son doesn't even understand what a commercial is. Like he'll be watching, either YouTube or Hulu or whatever, and an ad will pop up. He's like, "What is this?"
Yeah. Why is this interrupting my show? I know,
dude. You have no idea.
It's so different. Like like at the blink of an eye, you could just kind of like, like we have Disney Plus,
buddy. Yeah, all of them.
Like we've watched Encanto like 48 times in like 20 days. But what I'm getting at is like my kids, like they ask for like any movie, like
boom, done.
Hey, like it's at the point where I'm like, we do Tubby time and it's like, let's put a movie on. Guys, what do you want to watch? Bug's Life, Encanto, right? It's like, all right, give me like 10 seconds. It'll be on. Like,
yeah,
that's amazing. I didn't have such luxuries.
No, and it's amazing, but it's kind of scary. Like,
yeah.
And what does that do? And I mean, I'm guilty of the whole thing too. Like, I love the convenience. I love everything at your fingertips, right? But like, I don't know, man. We're getting soft.
Yeah, it creates this, especially at a young age, like instant gratification, like
Yes, on demand. Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
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 And my like this part of me thinks that like these kids who have like ADHD, I wonder if it's um, you know, accelerated by the fact that like they can watch something and there's a million other things to worry or they can go to and they don't even finish what they're watching. They go on to the next and they keep there's
I,
just so many things.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical professional. I have nothing other than an observatory opinion on that topic. But my thought is that there absolutely has to be. Now, I understand it's, something that's much more diagnosed
Sure, of course.
than it used to be. Um, but to me, it seems like there has to be some correlation between the use of devices and instant gratification and all that with kids at a really young age, and what seems to be their inability maybe to focus for long periods of time, because you do have that ability to swipe through things and see different things. So we try to really limit, very like very much so. The only time that we really like kind of have let the kids like run the roost when it comes to like an iPad or a device is, we took a trip to Florida in October, and we had them on the plane for 2 hours, and so it was
Sure.
like we pull, you're
You need
pulling out
help.
stops like, what are, guys, movies, snacks, what just sit for 2 hours,
Be
right? And
quiet.
yeah, but other than that, it's really like, we have like movie night like every night for whatever, half hour or 40 minutes. Like after they take a tub, we'll watch a movie for a little bit and they'll watch half of the movie, and then it's like it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, they don't sit, like Jack will do like ABC Mouse or something for a little bit, but it's like supervised. But there's no like, hey, here's an iPad, go watch YouTube videos by yourself for 20 minutes. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
We
we're both of the same mindset of like, let's limit that.
yeah,
And
that's good. Yeah, we didn't get Lincoln an iPad until, well, it's a tablet, but until like this past, I think we got it for his birthday. So when he turned 4 years old.
Yeah.
Before that, though, he's like, he would randomly and rarely see our phones. Like, again, it was, worst case scenario, like we need you to be quiet for just 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it's like there's things that need to happen, and I really need you to be quiet. Yeah. I mean that those sort of things do come up, especially when they're the ages of our kids, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as just like, here you go, here's a babysitter, just go play, right?
Yeah.
I certainly I don't downplay the fact that there are certainly, you know, early learning benefits to some of these things,
Absolutely.
but it's also concerning about um, attention span being shortened, because they have so much stimulation at that age that I'm just fairly conservative about that. Yeah.
Are you worried about your children growing up in the world that we live in now? I mean, think about how quickly things changed, like in 15 years, even. Like, we're talking about a time where, like, you would go to a website on rare occasions. Like, we're talking about, we used to go into the newspapers to read news and entertainment and things like that. Now that's like commonplace. There's, how many times a day do you visit a website? Like, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when they're, 10, 11, 12, whatever it is.
I think for us, and Jess and I talk about this a lot. I think the thing that's most concerning for us as parents is um social media and the effect that has on kids, right? Because
Mhm.
think about like when you or I were 13 or 15 or something, right? Like I didn't know what like I didn't see like fitness models at 15, right? Or like,
Right.
right? Or like, all these different like celebrity personalities out there, or like Instagram or TikTok celebrities or whatever, right? Like that didn't exist. And so now you have this, you have this issue where people are able to reach people around the world quickly, and see things that they would have never have seen, had social media not existed. And also, the expectation that people feel like they have to live up to that. I think that's really difficult, especially for kids. Probably more so particularly for women.
Mhm.
I think it's a really difficult difficult thing, right? Like you don't want to be the parent that says like, no, you're not going to have any of these things or participate in any of these things as all your peers around you are, right? Like
Right.
that's a difficult thing to balance. But it's also really it's a challenge. I feel like the world on social media is not reality in a lot of ways, and for children to at a where their minds are really you know uh, vulnerable, I think for them to see that constantly and to feel like they have to live up to that, I think that for us, I think is the scariest thing. And obviously, of course, um, you know, obviously, school violence has become, significantly more of a thing, right? Since
Yeah.
Columbine at that time. So that was 99, right? So I was in 7th or 8th grade. But since like before that, you would never heard of such a thing. Now it's like 20 years have gone by, or 23 years have gone by now. And we're so desensitized to that. Not in that we don't, feel or
Yeah.
hurt, but it's just, oh, there was another incident at a school. It's just like, by the next day, you're like, you're not even talking about it anymore. That was world news for months. Like
Yeah.
that was life changing. I remember and feeling like you'd never seen peers put in that position before. I mean, I remember feeling like this is a really big thing. Um, so now, like those types of things, I think are, there are biggest concerns.
Yeah. Even like the ability to be bullied outside of, school. Um, my wife just showed me a page on Face or Instagram, maybe. It was regarding Pittston, and like there's these kids. I don't even want to talk about it because I don't even want to bring attention to it. But it was just like these kids, like kind of like, oh, Susie was making out with Johnny behind the dumpster, or whatever. Like that, and that's a mild thing, but like it could have been like really, really aggressive and like really like shameful or and it just we didn't have that ability to do that. Like if you wanted to fight somebody or pick on somebody at school, it was like at school. Typically, it would be, if anything it escalated to, a point where, you were fighting or whatever, like teachers would get involved and in the middle and, kind of, squash it. But like now it's just weird.
Yeah, the ability to publicly shame was not there. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, it has its challenges. It's really like it's hard. I'm not, it's uncharted waters because this didn't exist when we were kids. So it's hard for us to figure
Right.
out how to do our best to manage that.
I think we as adults and we as parents need to do a better job and, kind of, and I don't know how to do it, but like we need to kind of almost unite. Like for instance, when Amanda was pregnant with Lincoln, this was 2017. I remember driving through Main Street in Pittston. It was like 3 weeks before Halloween, and there was like a trunk or treat going on Main Street in Pittston. I'm like, these fucking kids have been trunk or treating for the past 3 weeks. It's not even Halloween yet. And I'm like, you know what? My kids never doing this trunk or treat shit. Like
You were,
one day,
this year. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But like, how do you like? I mean, now like you can like not do it. He would never know. But let's say he gets older, his friends in school, they're all going on these trunk or treats. So you can make him stay home while his friends are out doing this candy grab.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard, and we have nieces and nephews that are, as old as, 23 and as young as, my sister's son is, Jesus, I think he's 8. I'm like losing it. And I think, in that span of age, even in that 15-year age gap, right? Like the 23-year-old is certainly dealing with, different things than the 8-year-old, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
in terms of like what was available to them during that period. So when you say, you're right, when you talk about how much things have progressed in those 15 years, childhoods are significantly different now, even in that period, and everything is, right. Everything seems like has just sped up, right? Technology is so different. The way we interact is different. Jobs are different. Like, right. Like you always read that, like, the best jobs of today, right, didn't exist 20 years ago, right, or 10 years
Mhm.
ago in some capacity in some fashion. So, it's just it's amazing how fast things are moving now. And maybe John, every generation has said that, but it certainly seems like, when you look back at history, that maybe this seems like the fastest things have ever progressed. But maybe because we're young adults in that, in that phase, that we feel that way. But maybe
Yeah.
maybe our parents' generation felt the same way about, maybe the 70s and 80s. But I don't know. It just seems like everything is moving fast right now, and in some capacity, hard to keep up.
Well, it's the internet, man. I always say it's a blessing and a curse. And I think our parents didn't have that, like
No,
it wasn't even on their radar.
no, no.
It
I
was
remember my first taste of social media. So this was back when Facebook required an edu
Yep.
email address, right? And your school had to be affiliated with Facebook in order to actually gain access to the site. Like you couldn't just be like, oh, I go to a college, so I'll join the site. So I remember my friend was playing basketball at Syracuse University, right? So this was like 2000. This would have been 2004, the winter in 2004 and 2005. I'm a freshman in college. He invites us up during their winter break because there were like really no students on campus. The only thing that kids could really do was probably go to a game that was being held, and there was no one else around. So he said, why don't you guys come up? So myself and two other buddies went up to visit him, and we stayed for a long weekend. And the one night he was like, hey, I want to show you guys this website. We're like, yeah, sure. What is it? He's like, it's called the Facebook. I'm like, the Facebook? What is that? He's like, it's amazing. You could see everybody that like goes to this school, and like, you could see like what their interests are and look at pictures. I'm like, wow. All right, show me what this is all about. So I remember he gave me his username and password because I was like, I got to check this out when I get home. Like, this is amazing. I want to be able to like look and see all these people. This is crazy. And so lo and behold, maybe 6 months later, you started to see more and more schools becoming affiliated with it. And then I remember we got a notification at Wilkes that Wilkes had been, I guess, accepted into the Facebook program. And that was like a big thing for a while. But it was called the Facebook. That was the GWS, the Facebook.com, I remember. And it was just so different. I mean, it was like, right? Like your parents weren't on there, like sort of embarrassing you, or like you're like,
not yet.
It wasn't. It's certainly like there was no like news feed. It certainly wasn't political, right? It was no like. It was just like college kids on there, basically like checking each other out for the most part. But there was no like, it was very, very different than what it is today. But I remember I remember thinking like, this is something's going to happen here with this site. This is like a new thing that is really amazing. And I was never. Were you a MySpace guy? I was never really MySpace guy. I was for a little while, maybe a year, but.
So I found out about the Facebook. It was spring break 2005. So it was like March. And we went to Punta Cana.
Exactly, around the same time. Yeah,
same time. Yep. We went to Punta Cana, and there was a group of like maybe there was 10 or 12 of us, and we ran into a group of other people. And they were like, "Oh, are you on the Facebook?" And I'm like, "What? What is this Facebook thing?" And they told us about this thing, and a few of them just happened to be girls. So like when we got home, the guys would, obviously we were like, let's check out this Facebook thing, because like these girls who we were on vacation with, or we ran into rather, they weren't ugly and they're on it. So let's go see what they're doing,
What else are we gonna find on here? Yeah. Right.
So that's how I got. That was 2005. And like, I don't really like, I remember getting onto it, and I really wasn't like, I mean, this is whatever. And months went by. I started at the Weekender in September of 2005. And I think at that point is when MySpace kind of picked up steam. Yeah. And I was a MySpace guy till about 2008 or 9. I mean, I have to credit MySpace, because if it wasn't for MySpace, I may not have ever met my wife. Or I should say had the balls to talk to my wife. Because I think I
remember Amanda as a model of the week at one point.
She was twice, I think. But yeah, twice. But I mean, I knew that when she came in the second time is when I started, like, I just, I talked to her more. And then I reached out. I think I had a couple drinks one night, and I messaged her on MySpace thinking she'll never respond to me. Yeah. Liquid courage, right? Yeah. And then like she'll to this day, she will, I have the conversation printed out in a box, and I should like do some kind of survey, because I said that she fell into my trap, because I was just telling her where I was going to be. I'm like, hey, we're going to Beer Boys tonight, or we're going to Old Time Charlie's, and she would show up. I
Interesting.
mean, I wasn't the one, following her to places initially. I mean, now granted, as we started hanging out, and like there was a time that she was out at Whistles in Scranton, which I would never go to, but here I am driving to Scranton because there's this beautiful girl that I'm interested in.
You love, buddy.
Yeah, but yeah, so thank you, MySpace, for existing at that time.
Yeah. Shout out to, is that Tom? Yeah,
I
Tom.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he in top 8? Was he in your top 8? It was such a passive aggressive like vehicle though. Like
Wasn't it? Yeah.
you could put like, if you're like you just broke up with your girlfriend, you could put like this like angry music, like saying F you, but without saying it, You
No,
could remove them from your top 8.
Yeah, it was really, that was that had some cool things that like, right? Like you could like, you do, was it called a scan or your background or right? Well, I don't remember what that was called. But
Yeah, background or whatever.
yeah, you could like make that whatever. You could have music, right?
If you could code. I mean, I couldn't like, I wasn't smart enough to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have to like tough up to do that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just having like, just having those like customizable features of it, like that was cool. Like in hindsight, I'm like, that was a really unique thing, like
Yeah.
even on like, Twitter or Facebook now or Instagram, right? Like to be able to like, someone goes onto your page and you could just have music playing or that's kind of cool. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't see that now. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of get an idea what the person's all about.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you get an idea about it.
I'll look at the memories every day. It's kind of like one of the first things I do in the morning. And now it's a lot of fun because it'll show you memories from the past, like, 2, 3, 4 years. It's fun seeing Lincoln as a young baby. But like you ever go back to like 2010 and it's like back when the status was like Carmen Winters and you would put like is out to dinner or whatever. It wasn't like, it was like it's so, as a kid say, it was so cringe.
Yeah, I'm like, well, how did that even make sense? But then but the way that you wrote it, like the way that I should say, the way that the question was asked was different. It was different.
It asks you a question like, what are you doing today?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I want to get back to I don't want to keep you all night. I want to get back to your timeline because I think it's important, intern to where you are today. But you were with this company, the local websites. Where did you go after that? And why did you leave?
Well, I was approached by the Times Leader.
It was that soon?
Well, I was there. That was 2012, I believe.
Okay.
So I was an intern at that other company, and then worked there for 4 years.
Got it.
And then the Times Leader approached me with a new opportunity to work in their digital sales department to be the director of digital sales, actually. And at the time I was 26, and it was it was something that was kind of sold to me as like, you're going to be able to build this from scratch and money behind you, and we're going to give you this great salary and benefits. And I was like, at 26 years old, I thought,
yeah,
wow, this is a great opportunity. I'm really fortunate. I'm honored to do this. Right. And it just wasn't that, it was difficult. I had really never, my last job was, not that it didn't have its difficult days. Right. But, like instantly, like my first, like, right. Like you have 9 a.m. managers meeting, right, every Monday, or 8:30, whatever that time was. Like like day one, I was like, this is a whole new level of stress that like I have probably never experienced in my life.
Yeah.
And it was like already like coming down on me like 24 hours after I was there. I was like, this is not good here, is it? Like, and I will say, like, I don't want to say anything like, negative,
No.
because everybody at that point everybody was really doing their best, right? Everybody came to work every day and worked hard. And at the end of it, I made some great relationships, and I'm still very friendly with a lot of people that I met there. But the position itself was it had a lot of challenges. It was difficult, and so I went from there, and I started working for a home health company who coincidentally at the time, my wife was working there. She's a physical therapist. Although she started her own business. We can talk about that in a bit. But at the time she was a full-time physical therapist doing home health care. And my dad had actually met the CEO of this company. My dad had worked in mental health for a long time. And so he had some cases where the CEO of this company used to have personal care homes. And so they had interacted. My dad was familiar with him and he remembered my dad. And so I went to him when I was with the Times Leader and was proposing some different digital strategies to sell to him. And we just hit it off. And I had ran into him then later at a fundraising dinner, and we ended up sitting next to each other. And he said, I'm looking for somebody to head up my marketing and sales efforts in one of our offices. I'm wondering if you know anybody that'd be interested. And so at the time I was really unhappy with what was going on. And I said, actually, I'm interested. He's like, well, really? Like, okay, come to my office tomorrow. Let's talk about it. And so he offered me the job and I was ecstatic to take it. And it was great. And my time there was awesome. It was, I met a lot of people there too that were, still friends to this day. And so at that time I was doing something totally different, but I was selling, our product at that time was service, right? So we were doing, non-medical care and also skilled services. So physical, speech and occupational therapy. So my job was to, figure out who our referral partners could be and who, have similar businesses to us that could in turn, send us patients or folks who needed our care. And that was great. I did that for, I think, another 3.5 years. But simultaneously, I got my real estate license in 2000. February of 2013 is when I actually started working in real estate, but I got my license like at the end of 2012. So it's been just under 10 years. And so I did that part-time for a couple of years while I was still working my home healthcare business job. And it was, I was kind of running myself ragged. I really was. I was working a lot of hours. And I remember my wife being like, and she was my girlfriend at the time, right? We weren't even engaged yet, but I remember like I'd get home and it was like, I have another meeting I got to run, or I'm going to be home at like 7-8 o'clock. And it was just, it seemed to be more common than not. And I really felt passionate about real estate. Like it started to get to the point where I was like, my 9 to 5 was, even though it was a fantastic, fantastic job, it was like the people that were there were amazing. I was treated great. But I could tell that my passion was really in real estate. And so it got to a point where that was starting to almost, I felt like it was like, geez, this is like taking up my time, my 9 to 5 job. I wish I could just focus on real estate full time. So I remember Jesse and I got married in September of 2015. And it was right around that time where I said, I was getting really busy in real estate. And I said, I think I'm going to jump in full time after the wedding. And of course she was, as any spouse would, she was like, are you nuts? Why would you leave a full-time job? Right. You have benefits and you have a company car and you're like, like, this is a great job. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just not passionate about it like I am with real estate. I think if I'm able to like take the hours that I'm spending during my Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job and just focus on real estate, I think it's all going to work out just fine. And knock on wood somewhere. Luckily, that has been the case, but it's scary, like you leave the comforts of a job that, has some security and benefits. And when you're treated really well, like it makes it hard.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I wanted to do that because I believed in myself, that I thought, I think I'm learning enough that I can make this work and make it work full time and support myself and my wife. And I say this all the time, especially now, doing what I did to just take that leap of faith at 29 years old and jump in full time. Doing that now with 2 kids at home and a mortgage, and it would be exponentially more difficult for me to make that commitment now. And so I'm grateful that I did it at the time that I did that, because leaving that security would be really hard, and having the support to do that, and just having no safety net. So I'm very, I'm very grateful that I made that decision when I did, because doing it now would be almost impossible.
Well, I think it was the right choice at the end of the day, especially with the success you've had in the real estate
Yeah.
area.
It absolutely has been the right choice for many reasons, right? Like not just in the success that I've had, but just because and I hope it comes through this way. I never wake up, and I've said this to you before, I never wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, God, I go to work. Like, I never feel that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope it's like that forever. I really do. But it's, I've been in real estate now almost 10 years, and it's still to this day, it's never gotten old. I've never had the Sunday scaries, right? Like, that's never happened. Like, I just I feel really passionate about what I do. I feel like I'm always learning new things. And I think even for newer agents, having the ability to help them grow their careers too is exciting for me. So I'm always like, my mind is always going about different things that I can do, or different things that I can learn. There's so many different avenues in real estate that you can make a career to, whether it be, an agent or a broker, whether it be somebody in project or property management, whether it be an appraiser, you could do mortgages, right? You could do title work. There's so many different ways in which this industry kind of functions, that all these different people are in touch with each other regularly, that it opens your eyes to all the different ways that you could have a really successful career, and do things in your own way, and be, kind of, set your own hours, right? I kind of love that. You're really as busy as your client's schedule, right? You can't say, I'm not really feeling like, I don't, I know you want to see that house on Wednesday at 5, but like, I'm making chicken that night. So
Yeah.
like, it's not going to happen. Right. So, I think having the autonomy over having your own schedule, which it is true, right? Like, I just told you, we took a trip in October, which, I worked really hard for like a year and a half straight. We took a nice long trip. It was, just under 2 weeks. And, but I didn't have to, like, I mean, everyone knew that I was leaving, and I told people, but I didn't have to request time off, right? Like that. I didn't have to say, oh, please, I'd love to have, 12 or 13 days for vacation. Can we make that happen? Right. Like,
Please. Yeah, please.
but I just went, and like, it was having the ability to do that is certainly, one of the perks of being, self-employed in that way. And, but yeah, the changeover from, working, part-time into full-time was certainly scary, but I've told this to other agents who are in the same boat. I always tell them my story and what I did, and how I found success. And I'm always happy to share that with other agents. And I always encourage people who are starting to get to a point where they feel like, geez, I'm getting a little bit busier. And really, in real estate, as in most positions, but in real estate specifically, you can really only forecast out 60, maybe 90 days of earnings, right? Because things happen, like tomorrow, I may get a call for something that closes 6 weeks from now, right? Like, that wasn't on my radar, but tomorrow is. And so once you can figure out, like, I have enough to, I have enough either, cash reserves, or I have enough income coming in to kind of get me over the hump for the next several months. At that point, and you're starting to, like, your phone's starting to ring regularly. At that point, it's time to go, because I remember my production went from, let's say, like, maybe 2 million or something in 2015 to, and I went full time at the end of 2015. In that my first full year, I did maybe like 4.5. It went up like, 200%, just because I was able to focus all my time and effort in it. So that was, I always say too, like, if you believe in yourself and you really feel like you're, strong enough to do this on a full-time basis, it will happen for you. Yeah.
Part of me wishes that I would have stuck with it, because I was in the same real estate class with you.
You were
2012.
And we'd love to have you, John, if you ever think back about it. But
Well, it's one of those things. It's like, so I was in the middle of taking classes with you, and I was offered the general manager position at the Weekender,
Mm,
which is something I always wanted to do. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be all in at the Weekender. I don't want to, because at the time before that, I was kind of like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, let's start to like at least, you know, put the feet in the water of maybe a different career path. But when that happened, I was like, well, this is
yeah.
it. This is what I've always wanted. I got to do this. I got to do it 110%.
Yeah.
But looking back, I mean, you never, hindsight's 2020, right? You never know. But
You know what though? I had a lot of people at that time, when I was telling them like this was 2012, right? We were doing that summer of 2012. I remember we were taking classes. Um, there were a lot of people that were um like asking me like, what do you mean you're getting your real estate license? Nobody's at that time. You have to remember too, we were coming out of the recession. Real estate was not what the conversations that I've had with people in the last 2 years has been wildly different than what it was like then. And so people are like, what do you mean you're getting your nobody's getting their real estate license. This is like, market's terrible. What are you doing? Right. And I was like, I'm just, I feel like I'm interested in it. Right. And immediately, like after a couple of classes, I instantly knew like I'm interested in the content of this. This is interesting to me. And I enjoyed what I was learning. And at that point I knew like I might have an interest in this. To be truthful, I never took the class thinking that I would do this as a career. I took the class because I owned a building in Wilkes-Barre. I was a co-owner of a building in Wilkes-Barre that we thought we were going to end up buying more property together. And I thought, geez, maybe there's something that we missed the first time around here. And as we go forward and try to grow this portfolio of properties, maybe there's something that we would gain by taking the class. Certainly not the case. It teaches you how to pass the test, but not necessarily, there are some instances where it's practical, but a lot of it is, learned on the job, right? And as any career, but there, I never signed up for the class thinking this is your career path.
mhm.
But I immediately knew that it was, once I got in there and started learning about it. And so, um, for me to want to, you know, move that forward, it took it didn't take a whole lot of convincing to know that that was going to be what I wanted to do. I just instantly felt like, I found it. This is
Mhm.
what I want to do. And again, another thing I'm grateful for, right? Because I know some people kind of go a long time without figuring that out, or maybe they never do.
Yeah.
And so for me, I never take that for granted that, hey, you really found something you enjoy, that you're passionate about, that you want to continue learning. Um, I feel lucky. I feel lucky that that happened to me.
Yeah. And talk about the last couple of years, because I mean, you're currently with like one of the biggest names in our area. I don't know what their footprint is as far as outside of Northeastern Pennsylvania, but Lewith and Freeman,
Yeah.
big name in the market, a very trusted name. Talk about that experience at Lewith and Freeman, and then the past 2 years, because I think the market has been in a situation where maybe it's been seen before, but I think it's been really wild. You go to a point where like everyone's just buying houses. They're buying houses at over asking price. It's almost crazy. And now I think it's almost hard to even find a house to sell. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh, you're not at all. So, so the last couple of years, and truthfully, when the COVID pandemic, became news, and our offices were shut down. So this would have been I guess, the second week of March in 2020. We were having internal meetings and we were having Zoom meetings, just talking about, hey, here's what the protocol is going to be. Then we got news that, the governor shut us down, that we weren't able to work. So again, we were having Zoom meetings, trying to all stay in touch with one another. And the overall consensus was, this is going to be bad for real estate. Like, this is going to be really bad, right? So it's 2020, and everyone I've talked to, right, people that I trust, that have been doing this successfully for a long time, they've always given me the advice of, real estate's going to be a little bit rocky when the following things are happening. When there's an election year, when there's fluctuations in the stock market, right? So if you think back on, like spring of 2020, what was happening in the stock market,
Mhm.
and then add in a global pandemic, right? That should have been a recipe for no one's going anywhere. No one's going to want to move because freeze. Number one, I don't want people coming into my home. Number two, I don't know what's happening with the pandemic. Number three, I don't know what's happening with my job. Number four, I have no idea what's happening with my retirement money because the stock market's up and down. And lastly, like it's just kind of a crazy time in the world. Like, let's just, if everything's okay at home, let's not rock the boat. And that is just not, it's just not at all what happened. And it stayed that way now for 2 straight years. And it was really just, we weren't expecting that at all. So there was a period of 10 weeks where we weren't able to show a home. And I remember there were businesses, right? Like, it seems so long ago, but there were businesses that were deemed, essential and non-essential. And at that time, real estate was considered non-essential, which you would think, well, housing is certainly an essential part of living. How could real estate be non-essential? But it was. And so we, I remember we had, people in Harrisburg, battling that on our behalf, because just one example, I had a client who was moving to Pennsylvania from out of state, and he was taking over the emergency response team. He was going to run that department for one of the hospital systems locally. And I couldn't get him into a house. Like, I could not physically show him a property. He's like, wait, I'm moving from another state to take over a position that is certainly essential, and I have no idea where I'm going to live. And I can't get in to see the building, right? Like, that was really challenging at that time. And so I was just thinking, like, this can't be the new normal of like how we're going to do business. Like, this is just going to be terrible. So, luckily we were in a position where, I had some things that were still kind of left over from the early part of the year that was going to close. And I knew that was, I'm going to be okay here. This will carry me for a bit. And then as soon as, like, I think it was around Mother's Day, as soon as we got the leash off, where we were able to get back out there and work, certainly with restrictions and certainly following, whatever the CDC guidelines and protocols were at that time, which was challenging. It was a lot of paperwork. We had to keep track of who was in each property. Folks had to sign a COVID questionnaire related to, a potential exposure. It was there was a lot happening that we had to keep track of at that time, but it was certainly better than not being able to work at all. And it started to go bonkers. Interest rates went, hit rock bottom, historically speaking. That certainly has helped. And then there was limited inventory, and for whatever reason, I don't exactly know, there were a lot of buyers, and there still are in the market. So anytime I list a property, for example, I listed actually listing 4 properties this week. 2 of them I listed yesterday, and there are like 15 showings scheduled on each property for this weekend already. Probably a likely scenario based on those numbers, just statistically speaking, that there will be multiple offers, and that is the new normal now. And so advice that I give to any buyers too is, like, number one, make sure you're pre-approved. Number two, what's your current living situation? Can you leave? Do you have a house to sell first? Myself included, right? Like, Jesse and I have talked about potentially moving, right? I know you and we've talked about it internally, where we're like, I'm still trying to move. Right. But it's like, selling our home, moving into a new home, right? I know how to manage that because I do it on a daily basis, but I can see where buyers could really get frustrated with the idea of doing that. We did it with you, right? Like, we made that happen. We did the buy and sell, like, simultaneously.
That whole process was nuts.
It's challenging. And I
well,
yeah.
I mean, for us, it's nuts because of how things fell into place. It was easy because of you.
Well,
if we didn't have you, we would have been, I mean, I don't know what I would have done, but like, just the way that all happened was just like, you showed us a few houses that didn't really blow us away. And then, we showed us the one we're in now, and we put an offer in, and, they come back with a counter, and everything was contingent on us selling the house that we were in. And it just so happens you had, or a partner of yours had, someone lined up, and it all fell into place.
We did. I remember that was, a scenario that worked well, but I can see where, I can see where that could be, extremely overwhelming, and I'm empathetic to that, right? Like, I always try to, and I always try to be truthful with buyers and sellers in that regard and say, look, I'm going to do my absolute best to make this as smooth as possible for you. There will undoubtedly be times of stress. I there, it's just part of the situation. I will absolutely limit your stress to lowest possible levels, but just be prepared. There's going to be a lot happening in a short amount of time, simply because you're going to have to make decisions quickly related to the purchase of your new home. And you're going to have a flood of people coming into your property, and they're going to have, specific needs that we're going to have to try to accommodate as well. So it's a lot that happens during that buy and sell period. But I've done it enough to have experience to try to give, the best advice I can. And it's challenging. And so we, everybody at Lewith and Freeman, we really do try to do our best to make our clients feel like, we have their best interest in mind, and that we're trying to make, the best possible decisions and giving them the best advice we can to limit that stress. But to say that it won't be stressful, I think that's a little naive. It will be a little bit stressful, but we'll get there. Yeah.
I think the biggest stress I had was getting our house just like ready. Because it was like,
Yeah.
Hey, tomorrow we're gonna have a photographer at the house. And then we got pictures taken and we didn't even use them.
I know. I remember, yeah, we had somebody like kind of lined up already to buy it. And I remember I posted the photos to the MLS, but it was, yeah, we didn't really need them. But
yeah,
it's okay. I'd rather have that happen than.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still do curse Robin every day, the previous owner of my home.
You still finding some things? Yeah.
I haven't lately, but oh man, the day we closed, I could have like.
So I've told your story about the paint. Like I can't probably 50 times I've told that story.
Unbelievable. Anyone listening or watching, like, so we bought our house. I want to say we closed, I think it was August 6th.
It was.
But,
it was August 6th, yeah.
So I think we had an accepted offer or something like that around Father's Day, which was end of June ish. But so we'd been in this woman's house once or twice, loved what we saw, and then the day we had a closing, I walk in to move our stuff in or do like a last walkthrough, and this woman had like these large like entertainment cabinets, like a giant one on one wall, took up the entire wall almost.
It was like a huge. It was probably like 8 feet wide. It was like this huge like armoire. It was enormous.
Yeah, and then like another cabinet on a different wall. Yeah. So now I walk in to do the final walkthrough, and they had painted around the cabinets. So there's this, and we at the time we're like, oh, we're gonna paint this anyways because we weren't in love with the color. But it went from like we'll paint it in a month to we have to paint it right now. We can't live like this. Like
it looked like
it looked like someone who smoked cigarettes all day, every day for 1,000 years, and then removed like because the paint color was kind of yellowy too. Like, but I just couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like it. Not that I'm buying houses every day, but
no, that was that's in the every agent, right? They say, oh, I'll put that one in the book. That one's going in the book. That was a unique situation there where we walked in. It was like, so why is there the outline of an armoire on the wall? Like nobody.
Not to mention, we did it. We closed on the 6th. We were supposed to leave for vacation on the 7th.
Yeah. So
we closed the 6th. I think I started painting either that night or the very next day, and I got a lot done. And then we left a day late for vacation. But there's a few things that she did, like that like kind of like made me mad because she was very nice. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, she was very nice, and she was accommodating in that she let us a day early. But like, so she's like, "Oh, do you want anything? Do you want to buy anything from me before we, before I get rid of it or whatever?" I said, "Yeah, sure." There's like a nice wine rack down here that kind of fit. It fit the wall, right?
Yeah, I remember.
I come to find out because I only saw it like once or twice, and I didn't like touch it. But I come to find out it's like a part of the wall. It's a fixture of the wall. So at that point, it's part of the house. Like she couldn't have taken that with her anyways. But she didn't let me know that when I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy this X, Y, and Z from you.
Yeah, and we weren't like checking to make sure that that was like built into the wall, right? It was just
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it's built in. It just looks like a square
set in there.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but no, it's built in there.
yeah. No, I mean, every transaction has something funny that happens, right?
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's
that
it's
one was
all.
like that was amazing though.
Yeah.
That it was like the Kool-Aid man like jumped through the wall. That's what it looked like. It was like
Oh God, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it because like, and my wife wants everything done like now, and
it's normal.
yeah, and I mean, again, it was bad. Like there's no way we could like move in. Like, and again, I wish you would have like told us that because we would have been like just like, oh well, can we like get in a day earlier and I'll paint it, or I would have like tried to attempt to like negotiate the stuff that we bought from her down a bit. Like
Yeah.
she was. I think what made me mad is she was very devious. Like
Yeah,
she
it's
knew it was there. She knew
yeah.
that was there.
I've just never seen a paint job like that either. Like it was like, yeah, well, I guess let's not move it. We'll just go around it. It
I
was
knew it was
just
heavy. I mean, it was definitely heavy. But like,
yeah, right.
she had two
She
young kids. She could have helped her move it.
but she had big furniture in that room too. But it's a big room, so it was like, it fit the space, but it was that was a unique one.
It was
Yeah.
funny, so funny. But we're happy, where
That's
we
good.
are.
No, that always makes me happy when I hear from people, obviously you and I talk regularly, but again, like when I hear from people that that I bump into or that that I might see out and they say, I'm so happy with my house. Like I love my house. That makes me like, because I say too, a house is, it's not just four walls and a roof, right? Like you're making memories there. It's like where you spend holidays and where you have birthday parties and where your kids live and all these things, right? Like it's an emotional part of your life. And so when I hear that someone's home makes them really happy, that makes me happy too. I think it's great.
Yeah. I still think you need to write that book or do a picture book. I want you to start taking pictures
That's
of
what it needs to be, a picture book. Yeah.
yes, a picture book.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been out looking at around the houses, pay attention to like things you might see in the garage. I've seen a lot of pencil sharpeners, like the old school
Yeah.
pencil sharpeners on the wall, where like you would go to like you want to show off your new shoes that day or your new outfit. You wanted the girl to see you. You would like walk up and crank sharpen that pencil up. And there's one in this garage. I don't even know.
Oh yeah, that's so strange because it's like, right, you see that in a lot of old houses because that was like you just a lot of older like you just that's what you had one.
Well, I think a lot of times like a lot of times in basements especially or even garages, I think people like the men would use that space to build whatever, like whether it was a cabinet or whatever, they'd have their pencil sharpener out there next to them so they could use it. But
it's when you're a kid. Like my house when I was growing up was an older home and we had a pencil sharpener that was, as soon as you open the basement door, it was mounted on the wall.
Yeah.
Like the things that you remember as a kid, like I thought that was like that. I was like, oh, every house has one of these. Like it was just like I just thought like that was just such a common thing that it was like as common as like a stove. I was like, oh yeah, every house has a pencil sharpener. You just gotta like figure out where it is. Like it's coming back. I'm seeing this in some new construction homes, which is cool. Built-in ironing boards.
no way.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a good way to save space. So they're building them in the laundry room, right? And it folds into the wall and it's covered by a nice cabinet.
Makes sense.
But yeah, it's like you look back at some of these things that even 10, 15 years ago, right? You would walk into a home and you'd be like, oh, I can't believe that they had that, right? Like, but it was totally a functional piece of the house, and now it's coming back.
Well, I love the fold up bed. I never had one of those, but I mean, what a
it is. It's great.
What a great way to save space. It's this bed that folds down.
It's amazing.
What else? What else you seen out there? Anything weird?
Anything weird?
Well, you have my story. So what's a story you could share?
The weirdest thing that I'm seeing is pricing. I guess that's kind of a weird thing right now, but demand is there. It's truly like, you see a lot of people that are negative about the market, like, oh, I would never buy now. It's like prices are crazy. What I say is prices are certainly higher than what you may have considered them to be 2 years ago, right? They definitely have, the market's gone up. It's like national average around the country is around 18%. year over year. I mean, when you're talking about 18% of a carton of eggs, like it's like, yeah, I don't notice that. But when you're talking about, 18% of a median home price, that's a big number.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing is, prices are certainly up, but interest rates are down. So when you're talking about a monthly payment standpoint, which is how a lot of buyers are looking at properties, they're like, all right, listen, my down payment's covered. I'm interested in this price point. This is what I want my monthly payment to be. Um, those dollars, because of the low interest rates, are getting them a little bit more house. And now the prices have sort of caught up with that. So I think as interest rates rise, which they're expected to, I think that will curb pricing a hair. But we're also seeing, forecasting that the number of buyers are going to stay pretty consistent, and the number of sellers are going to stay pretty consistent. So the demand is still going to be there on the seller side. So it'll be interesting to see. I wish I had a ball to tell me like what this is going to look like in several years, right? I don't. But as of now, it looks like the market's going to continue to stay strong as a seller's market. So I've told people, when we've had listing appointments, I'm like, what do where should we price this? And I'm like, look, I'm going to work to get every dollar out of this house for you. But what I can tell you is, whatever the market bears for this property now, it's never been better than this. So whatever the if we have 5 offers, and whatever the best terms or best price, or however you want to tier them, whatever that is, that's the best it's probably ever going to be on this house, at least in the last, since the house has been constructed.
Right.
It's never been higher. Could it be higher in 3 years from now? Certainly, yeah. If the market continues to shift upward, and and things continue on the path that they've been on, yeah. But as of right now, this is probably the best it's ever been for selling a home.
Yeah, we got lucky. I think because it was before prices
Yeah.
increased very high, and it was still like at the point where interest rates were very low.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got super lucky, the
I think
timeline.
so. I think you did buy at a really good time. Like I even people that bought around the time that you did, like, yeah, you're probably sitting on equity now that you would have thought, geez, I don't know if I'm ever gonna get that, right? Like I remember every buyer, right? We always have talks like, what should the price be? Is this a strong offer? Am I overpaying, right? All these things go through a buyer's mind, and certainly my mind, because I always want to represent whatever party that is. I always want to make sure that their interests are protected. And so at the time I remember thinking like, no, this is a fair offer for this property. And luckily the seller agreed to that. But now, like, if your house were to go on the market, right, it'd probably be significantly priced differently.
Yeah.
And it would have been probably, a lot of buyers, and you would have a lot more competition.
Do you think that COVID had a lot to do? I mean, you talk about the scenarios with election years and interest rates and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel, and this is, I don't know if I heard this in passing or if it's something I made up in my head, but a lot of people that were living in these big cities were kind of forced out of those cities, and they were kind of like forced to explore different living situations, and people are working from home now, so it's not important to go to the office. Do you think COVID had a little bit to do with the way things have played out?
Definitely. I think what we found was now I do some work in the Poconos, right? Like we have an office in Hawley, so I'm out there. I've represented, buyers and sellers on some lake properties in that area. And what we're finding is that the entire Pocono region is absolutely on fire right now from a real estate perspective for 2 reasons. There's a lot of folks from the major metro areas, right, it's still a reasonable commute in the event that they have to go to the city, right? It's the same type of thing that happened, in the mid to late 90s in the Poconos, where there was this giant influx of people, and then after 9/11, where there were people that were migrating out of the city and finding a home in the Poconos and going into the city when needed, with a short commute. The same type of principle is happening with COVID, where people are, finding the Poconos again. And they're, a friend of mine, lives in the city, bought a condo, beautiful condo, but paid a lot of money for it. And I think a lot of folks that are in that same ballpark budget wise, you can kind of, with a few exceptions, kind of like pick anywhere you want to live in this area for the similar price. And and I think people were finding that, geez, I could either have a a smaller apartment or a townhouse or a condo in New York, for whatever the price was or whatever the price is at that time. Or I could have a, 5-bed, 4-bath, home in the Poconos that's, an hour away.
Right.
Uh, and I don't have to deal with, kind of the tightness of the city and especially with COVID, with people kind of, wanting to separate them from each other a little bit. I think the Poconos were a great way for that to happen. And so we've seen some of that spill over, into the Scranton Wilkes-Barre market as well. From an investor standpoint, we're seeing a lot of investors from the cities coming into this area and buying property as an investment, because it's still an attractive area to purchase property for that reason. And people are finding that, I've long said, and I think so have you, we're as a realtor and somebody who, has worked with many businesses and offering advice to businesses in your career, we've always kind of been, cheerleaders of Scranton Wilkes-Barre for various reasons, right? There's always been like, everyone wants to rag on certain things, but I think there's a lot of positives, and people in our position need to highlight those things. And I think other people are starting to see that now. And it's bringing people in from out of the area, which is helpful. And we're seeing a lot of development, right? Like look at some of the things that Scranton has happening and Wilkes-Barre has happening. I think, I think it's taken a little bit of time, but logistically speaking too, like we're 2 hours from Philly, we're 2 hours from New York. We have 80 and 81, we have the Turnpike, we have all the 84, we have all these different ways, for businesses to find homes here. And we're seeing now like some of these large warehouse buildings are being built here, and large companies are finding homes here. And that's bringing in, nice paying jobs that are, family sustaining wages. And it's bringing us a boost in the economy and a boost to, housing ultimately. And so, all those factors I think combined have helped our market in Northeastern Pennsylvania. And it's exciting. I'm really like, I just had a chat with another agent today about this, and she said, I'm really excited about being an agent here, because there's like so much good stuff happening in our area, and also like with what's happening in the real estate market in general. It's a good time to be, helping people to buy and sell real estate. I couldn't agree more with you. I think it's great. So all those things are, they're positives. And I think people are finally, seeing the positives that we have to offer in this area. And it's helping us tremendously.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right about just being cheerleaders for the area. I mean, John Bastaliga, he is like the champion for Scranton.
So he's somebody that, when I talk about what's happening in Scranton, I recently had an opportunity to meet John, and it was the first time I had met him. And what's amazing is that he's 42.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just wildly aggressive in terms of what he's doing, and it's amazing. I mean, he does everything top notch. Like there's no corners that are cut, and he wants to put out a good product. And now, he's done so much that, he really wants to continue that reputation. And we had a really, just a really good meeting. There was an opportunity that, we wanted to run by him, and he was awesome. Like he was like, yeah, I'll come take a look at it. I'm interested. And we ended up having like a 4-hour meeting, and John was awesome. Like he was just a really great guy. I was happy to meet him, and what he's doing for Scranton is fantastic. There's several developers in Scranton that are just doing stuff. They're really are.
Yeah, it's cool to see.
Yeah, and now there's word, a couple of years out, but there's word that there's going to be a rail system to New York, and I know that's been talked about for a long time, but it seems like the funding is actually in place now for that to happen, like within the next 5 years. And that can only, I think that's only going to mean more good things for Scranton and the neighboring communities.
I agree. I think we talked about the rail system on a previous podcast with AJ Jump and Joe Burke.
Yeah.
We had a good rant about that.
Yeah. It's been this like thing that's like, it's coming, right? But I actually like, read something in print that seemed to be like the plans were actually in place for this to happen. So I'm hopeful that it is. I think it'll be a really great thing.
It'd be awesome.
I'd love to enjoy it myself, just
absolutely
hop on the train and just get there. That'd be awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And I think that there was a campaign that we developed around that whole thing was I wanted to have recreational marijuana legalized.
Mm-hmm.
and we were going to start a campaign called Pot for Potholes. Because on the rail system, we would avoid the potholes, but we got to fix the potholes now because there's no rail system.
Oh,
Pot for pot. Oh, dude, I hit one on the other night on Friday night coming home from an event.
Yeah.
My body hurt. I'm like, there's no way that I get home without a bent rim or busted tire. There's no way. There's just no way. I made it. I don't know how, but
it's like an immediate,
God.
like, I like scream when it happens.
Yes.
Ah, fix the roads, right? Like,
I don't even get that far. I just go, oh.
I know. It drives me nuts, right? But they're everywhere. Like there's one on River Street in Plains. Have you seen
So
that?
that's the one. I hit it last week before.
There's cones around it now. It's so bad.
Before it got that bad. Yeah, it was last Friday. That's the one I got.
And it's, and that's such a dark spot on the road. Like if you don't have, you could totally just drive into it. Never see, like, we may never see you again if that happens, like it's so bad.
Dude, and then like I drive like a car. So you're like, you don't have much better response time with the SUV, but at least you're a little bit higher. You can kind of see a little bit further.
Yeah.
But you're driving a car around and oh my God.
I know.
My bones hurt.
Yeah, it's bad. It really is.
Oh man.
But we'll get it right. I mean, our neighbors to the north, south, east, and west of us have all figured it out. But here in Pennsylvania, with similar climate, we just haven't. We just don't have the right recipe for whatever we're putting on the ground there. I don't know. I don't get it.
Oh man. Well, I'm sure we can go on and talk about a lot more, but we've already taken. It's been like what, an hour and a half now?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours. I'm an old man now, so I need to get to bed.
Yeah, I understand. Me too. Long day tomorrow.
Well, I'm so happy that you walked through the doors of the Weekender way back when. I mean, I said it before, and I'm going to have to say it again. Like I have to, in some way, take a little bit of credit for the success that people that worked for you and Bridget, and there were others.
Yeah.
Sean. I mean, there's a little bit. Maybe like a 0.000003%, but I'm going to take some.
I think we're all right. We're all a little part of the people that we work with and interact with on a regular basis, right? And so, I think that's so totally true, right? Like, just see, like, even if it's, you were how old? So, how old would you have been in 2007, right? You were probably 22,
25. Well, when you were an intern, I was 24.
Yeah, right. But like I said, you were like my mentor, right? So you were in charge of us, and
I was nuts.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, things are, you were Johnny Weekender then, right? Which is like that was like your alter ego, different persona, But yeah, it's like, but seeing you like I was still learning, I was like, yeah, this guy is, we're having fun after events, and we're going out, and this is great. I'm 21, you're 24, right? Like we're having a good time, but I was still learning like how to interact with clients, and there was a lot of valuable pieces of that too that I think shaped my my outward projection of how I try to interact with people too. I think those early like stages of being an intern there, that was really helpful in my career development.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Looking back on it, I wish it's like there's like two sides, right? I think it was good for what it was. I wish I was like more knowledgeable or more experienced, that I could have like, maybe we went on more sales calls or things or did like bigger things. I don't know exactly what I would kind of change, but I mean, it was good for what it was.
Yeah, definitely was. Yeah. And I'm telling you, the contacts that I made, during that period, it's helped me exponentially in growing my career, because I have comfort level with people that I met 15 years ago through my, my jobs at that time and my internships at that time, that I would have never met those people had I not been affiliated with the Weekender. And so it's been great. I have a comfort level to call them and say, hey, hey, what do you think about this? And they're happy to take my call, and vice versa. And so that's really, the main focal point of how I valued my time there was being able to meet so many different influential folks in the business community. That was a huge thing for me. and I still try to do that every day. But at 21 years old, meeting some of these people, and, bar restaurant owners, or, club owners, or, just people that were in kind of in the social spotlight at that time, who have now, maybe they've gone on to, grow their own businesses in different capacities, or they've expanded their business, or they've done something totally different. It's funny, you see people that were like, bartending and doing this, and all of a sudden you look at them now and they're like, that we interacted with on a regular basis, and they're like, they're successful in the insurance industry, or just different things, that financial services, or just something like totally different. But we got to meet them at a time when, they were kind of doing things similar to what we were doing, and working at, in, like I said, in a club or restaurant. And now it's, looking at them from on a professional standpoint, that they're all doing great. And I think there was kind of a circle of people in every area, I'm sure, but, maybe there was, let's say 200 people, right, that we just see each other all the time. And those are a lot of those people are, people that are now, friends or clients or peers that I can call, or people that are providing complementary services to what I do for a living. And it's all gone really well, but it all stems from those relationships during that time.
Yeah, it's amazing how that all works, kind of full circle. And yeah, like exactly what you're saying. People you met there, they're kind of like they were together there, and they kind of came together at a different point in life.
Right.
Yeah,
It was like, phew, and now everybody's kind of like,
yeah,
doing things again. And you take a call and you're like, wait, is this the same? This is the same guy that, like, and they're like, they sound totally different. They're like, yeah, I have 3 kids. I'm like, it's like, it's just such a different thing now. Right. But all those people, like, you meet them during that time. It was great. I mean, looking back, there was a lot of great things. I'd be on campus, and right, and the weekender would come out. And I remember some of my buddies that were in college at the time, they'd be like, you were in the weekender like 8 times this week. Like, what? I'm like, yeah, but I was at this event, and like somebody was taking pictures. So it was like, you just get in all these photos, and it's just funny. They used to bust me about it.
yeah. But that was such a cool thing though, because like everyone knew what the weekender was. Like you were kind of like these like little rock stars. It was like it was cool. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but,
Well,
yeah. I don't I cherish the time there very much, and I it's probably not conducive for a family, but
no. Yeah. It would be hard. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have made it a little longer after I was named general manager, and I was there in that position for a year. And I just kind of saw the writing on the wall, like ownership and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even know who owns it now, but at the time it was real strange. And
That was a rocky time, because I was there on the same period, a little before
Mhm.
that. It was like, ownership was changing hands. There were things that were happening, like, directors were coming from out of state. I remember that, like, as
Yeah,
part of, they were trying to, like, make a hub for all the graphic work, and,
yeah,
there were screw ups, right? And so you have something that's happening, like, from another area, and people that you've maybe even never met, you're talking to them on the phone or through email, and, like, you've built this long-term relationship with this vendor or venue or service provider or whatever it is, right? And their ad gets screwed up because somebody in another state kind of like didn't follow directions in some
dude,
capacity, and then that affects their relationship with you.
that's
It's
exactly why. I think that's like I feel like I've told you this story, and I haven't, but that was why.
but no, but like, I could see that I could, like, see it happening, and I was
Yeah,
like, this is bad. Like, this
it
is
was
just
real bad every week. Some of the people that I spent like 9 years building trust and all that for 9 years. I'm like, I'm not gonna let this company from North Carolina, or wherever the hell it was,
yeah,
ruin that in the course of 3 months. Like, this is insane. I remember just saying every week it was like, I'm sorry your ad ran wrong, or I'm sorry it was, you paid for color and it ran black and white, or whatever it might be. You name it. It's just like I'm not doing this anymore.
yeah,
I'm not.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
No,
funny too. A lot of the people like that were at that, the Times leader, ended up, I went to Times Shamrock, which owns the uh Citizens Voice, Scranton Times, and the radio station. I went to the radio stations, but a lot of people from the Times Leader, kind of transferred over,
yeah,
shortly after that. And then there's still some great people at the Times Leader now. I never want anyone to think that I'm speaking poorly about the current staff that's there when I do these podcasts and talk about the Weekender and talk about the time. Then it just, because they're all doing the best they can. They're doing great work. You have Carrie O'Neill, who's,
Yeah, I know. I'm so
just,
happy for Carrie. She's like,
yeah,
she's awesome, and she's doing a great job there. And
yeah,
I'm seeing some new initiatives coming out, which are awesome. And
yep.
I mean, I wish her all the success there. I think she's absolutely working her butt off to make that a great product again. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great story too. I mean, she was a sales rep at one point, and she kind of worked her way up. But yeah, I never want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying about, it just,
Yeah.
like, there's no, I don't think any ownership that I discussed during that time is currently involved now. But yeah, it's a weird industry to try and navigate for sure. But
Yeah, it's had its challenges as any industry has. That the way in which information is coming to you is changing. It's hard to predict how that happens, and so you have these like newspaper industry has to battle against social media sites as a means for people to access their news, right? Which is what's happened.
mhm.
And primary interaction, I'm sure, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing, speculating, that primary interaction for news stories happens with social media posts.
Yep.
And so they're getting their news there, and that's how people are finding out information. And so they have to, that's a third party source that are not directly, all they're doing is posting information to a third party site. So it's just different how that information is disseminated is different. It's, I remember there was a time when there was a feeling of like, we need to attract the most, the web views, right? We're extremely important, right? We need to attract the most traffic. But like, looking back on it, like, and now knowing that there are different products available where you can have, sponsored ads and sponsored posts and things like that through social media, that should have been a huge part of the focal point. And knowing that this is where eyes are, like, even if you asked folks in our age, demographic, you would say, where do you go for your news? Like, where are you finding your news? And they're like, well, I may or may not be using the direct website of the news channel, but I'm certainly following their social media pages and I'm seeing those posts, right? And so I think growing that following should have been, such a big piece. I remember thinking at the time there was like a local newscaster who had like 3 times the amount of followers as the Times Leader newspaper as a whole. And I was like, this is like something that we should be we need to be looking at this. Like this one person who's like a weatherman on WNEP has 3 times the amount of followers as an entire newspaper, right? Like, it was just something that was eye-opening, that, we need to be focusing our efforts on growing this target, because that's where people are going for their information now. And I think certainly now they're doing this is now, 10 years later, I think they're now doing a significantly better job of that.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, I mean, pool season will be here before we know it.
Looking forward to that.
We can text each other about the pool issues that we're most likely going to have.
I definitely need a new liner.
I hope you don't. Yeah, I'm hoping I get through this year.
It's probably time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get through this year, because I don't know. But I mean, we talk about it all the time. We talk about getting together with the kids. We got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sick of seeing you guys at Aldi.
I know. Our regular
every time
weekend trip. Right?
Every time I go, I'm like, I wonder if we'll see Carmen and the family. Sometimes I'll almost text you like, hey, want to see you today?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
No, but no, seriously. If obviously if the reality series is not filmed during the time that you're supposed to go to Florida, like, we will be there the 19th through the 28th.
Oh, that's perfect. That's like the exact same time, like we talked about.
That's what I'm saying. So
19th, yeah. That's incredible.
I don't know which day we're planning on going at, but we can definitely do that in the latter half of the trip. That way we can make an arrangement to meet you guys, which would be
great.
Cool.
Amanda's got everything already like mapped out. I mean, she's
you got your meals set. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess you have to, especially with COVID and the way things are. So you have to have be really prepared. So once we get the finalized itinerary, I will do my best to share that with you. I'm hoping that I don't know. I mean, I want this to happen because I think that regardless if I made it to the end, they say it's a life-changing amount of money. I haven't got an actual dollar amount, but I mean, I think You
Is
know,
it like a contest, like for the winner, or like they're giving you this regardless? How does this work? Or do you have no idea?
it would be like, you know, a challenge. There would be challenges. But uh, you know, even if I got like, you know, if I wasn't even like, you know, the first to be voted off, I think being on it in general would be slightly life changing. So,
Oh, it
or
definitely would
maybe it
be.
wouldn't. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, I think anything that I think anything is, any experience is life changing in some way, right? Like
Yeah.
you'll undoubtedly like, meet new people and meet people that are, will provide something of value to your life at some point. And I think it's amazing. I hope it all works out.
I'm surprised I've got this far. I really am. I mean, the fact that they want to keep investing in this, because like I have to believe that these people who seek, you know, contestants out, they probably, I would imagine they probably get like some kind of commission off of like if their person that got picked like makes it to like the show or whatever, because they
I
do a
never,
lot to like
I never,
prepare you.
I never even thought of that. Like it's like a Hunger Games coach.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
I never even thought of that could be like,
But yeah, that, you know, they're saying that we need this, we need that, and blah blah blah, and photos and videos and yada yada yada. So it's like I would imagine that they, you know, if their person moves on to the, you know, or maybe they're just trying to get, you know, 20 people, and hopefully one gets through. I don't know. I have no idea. We'll see what happens. I'm just surprised that it's every
so
time I'm like, oh, this won't go past this level, and
do
they're
you know how
calling
many
me.
people are like left in the
Dude, I have no idea. I just, like I said, the Zoom call was a couple days ago, and then it's like for like a reel that they'll share with the producers, I guess. But hopefully, I haven't spoken too much about what I'm not supposed to talk about. But I haven't said the name or
uh,
the network or anything like that. So we'll see.
that's
But I'll
great.
be back. I'll be back in, you know, midsummer, maybe.
Oh, so it's like also like 6 weeks maybe, or eight
Yeah,
weeks.
maybe. I don't know. That's ish. So
I'll be back.
we'll see. I'll come back.
Or maybe not.
They all come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, buddy. This has been fun.
Yes. Always enjoyable. I love catching up with you. We have, we always keep each other entertained with some different stories going on. I love it. So
Yeah, this was kind of PG for, you know, most of our conversations. In that, you know, we like to pick on our kids because they, as
yeah,
much as we love them, they're
like,
funny.
like Charlie, I'm telling you, I just have to get this out. So she's our 2-year-old. I mean, he is so, like the cutest kid. He's so lovey, but man, he is so challenging. Like he keeps us every day is something with him. Like Jack was just not this way, right? Like Jack, you could be like, all right, man, we're gonna hang out for a little bit. We're gonna do this, and he'll listen, and he'll kind of like
Right.
just go along with the flow.
Charlie
Charlie,
was the rules.
it's funny. The best way I can describe our children, the difference. For example, so one of Jack's preschool buddies had a party at Sky Zone. So he was invited, and they said, when you come up, bring Charlie with you. Okay, let's bring Charlie up Sky Zone. So have you been there with Lincoln? Have you seen what the setup is in there?
I was there once. Yeah, same thing. He was there for a birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how there's like a big pit, right, with the
Yes.
foam blocks, and then there's like 2 balance beams that are going across the whole length of the thing.
Yep.
So there's 2 beams, right? So Jack is on all fours, crawling about 3 inches at a time across
Sure.
the balance beam. Charlie is on the balance beam next to him. We have a video of this. It's amazing. I said, there has never been a better display of the difference of our children than this right here. So Jack is crawling, hands and knees, 3 inches at a time. Charlie gets a running start from the back of the platform and runs out onto the balance beam and just like super fly Jimmy Snuka into the ball pit. And I was like, this is unbelievable. This is the exact description of our kids.
Yeah. I think that happens a lot with like the second child, right? Like the first one's kind of like all the attention's on them. You're able to kind of like watch them more and say, hey, don't do this, do that, yada yada yada. The second kid has to try and play catch up.
That's it.
No.
Everyone I've told this like story to, and like the difference of our kids are like, yeah, mine were the same exact way. The second kid was always just a little bit challenging.
It's a wild child.
Just trying to keep up.
Yeah. Cool.
So he's fast track to destruction. He's a tornado.
That's good.
And like, it's so funny, like all of Jack's clothing, I'm serious, all of it, Charlie was seriously able to wear it because it was like in just such good condition. Like Jack was not at all hard on his clothes. Like, you know how kids are too. They grow out of stuff so fast. Like he'll wear it 3-4 times and it's gone, it's done. So we had all these clothes saved, and Charlie was able to wear them. One of Jesse's best friends just they had a baby boy, and she was like, I feel so bad. Like there's nothing that I can give to him because Charlie has ruined everything. Like he has ruined every piece of clothing, everything. As soon as he grows out of it, it's done. Like he is.
You gave me handy downs. No one's getting these.
Oh my God. I'm like, you can't give these people. Are you kidding? Like it's significantly different on how they are. And Charlie, right here, I'm sure you could see on the right here, every one of Charlie's shirts now, right here about this size, has a giant stain on the shirt. And I'm like, I couldn't figure out at first. I'm like, what is with the stain on the left side of Charlie's shirts? And what it is, the kid loves apples. Oh, actually, you probably see him at Aldi. He always has an apple because we have to go in there, and as soon as he sees them, we have to open a bag and give him one.
You're those guys.
Yeah. We have to give our kids food at the store.
we're gonna open up.
Yeah. So he takes an apple. He bites the whole skin off the one side of it. So like, he's getting into the apple, and then he holds it like a baby on his chest. Like he won't let go. So he carries it around. He'll eat an apple for an hour. It'll go on like this. And he just holds it right here. So I figured out now all of his shirts are stained from the apple juice that he squeezes against his shirt for an hour straight every time he has one. God, I'm like,
that's so funny.
That's
so funny. Blinken was eating an apple the other day, and he's like, typically I'll peel it and then I'll cut it up. I give it to him. Well, he decided, don't peel it. I'm going to eat it like, an adult.
Like a whole one, or like you cut it up?
Like a whole one.
That's what we do with Charlie. You give a 2-year-old a whole apple, and then he's got a whole thing. Yeah.
So he just starts to bite the skin off of it and spit it onto his plate. I'm like, buddy, just let me peel it for you. like, what are you doing? This is not getting you to the place you want to be any faster. Like this.
Yeah, no.
It's little bites. It's like, oh my God.
God,
they're so funny, man. I always say I wish I did the whole dad thing earlier.
It's definitely a young man's sport, no doubt about it.
But yeah, I'm terrified of being the old dad too.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Look, in hindsight, like I feel like we both did it at a pretty good time. Like it.
Oh, I mean, like we had to do things how we did them for different reasons. She was in school for 1,000 years. We had a really great time just enjoying each other, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. I remember even like we were outside of our friend's house and we were talking about children, and I remember saying like, once we have kids, like we're not going to be doing this. And she's like, yeah, but I think if we don't, we're going to regret it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
I'm on board with that too. I mean, there's, it's not for everyone, right? And I'm never like, I never judge people that are like, I don't want kids, or right. Like, I'm like, oh no, yeah, cool. Like,
yeah,
I'm like the least judgmental person when it comes to most things, but certainly that, like, I'm like, yeah, it's not like, it's a huge decision that, it's not, just because you're a young couple doesn't mean like you have to have kids. It's not, it's what you want to do. Right. But for us, like I knew that we always wanted to have kids, and it's amazing and challenging and frustrating and awesome, and right, like it's got all these emotions tied to it, and for my wife, I want to talk about her business for a second.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So my wife, during this was a pandemic business, right? We're talking a lot about like people that are working from home or right. This is like a lot of shifting in terms of businesses and what different people are doing. So at the time, so Charlie was born January of 2020, so 2 months before the pandemic. So when that all happened, my wife was still on maternity leave. So during that period, she was like, I'm seeing these videos online. Like I'm really like interested in making these earrings, and they were made out of polymer clay. So I was like, yeah, babe, like we're home all day. Like, why not? Like it's a little hobby that you could start or, learn how to do it. Like I think I fully support it. Like go get what you need. This is cool. Let's do it. So she started doing it and she made a few pairs. And then like I went back to work and she got a call from her employer who at the time there were still like, she was a physical therapist. Elective surgeries were still like not happening. And she was seeing a lot of like the geriatric population, and they were saying like, yeah, we just don't want you coming into the house. Right. Cause they were concerned with COVID, and rightfully so. So the census for her company, meaning like the amount of patients that they had on staff, or on their census numbers was significantly down for multiple reasons. So her employer called her and said, hey, Jess, like, we're in a position that we can offer you, an extended maternity leave. Basically, we're going to have to lay you off, but we'll extend your maternity leave because that's just what's happening in our business right now. And are you okay with that? And she was, of course she was like ecstatic. She was like, no, I get to spend more time with the baby. And yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
So she really kind of like doubled down on the thought of like making earrings at that time. And so she said, I think I'm going to post these online and see if there's any interest. She had maybe had like 10 or 15 pair. I can't really recall. And within like 5 minutes, they were sold. And I was like, wow, there was a lot of interest there. So then the next thing that she did was like kind of a themed line. And she had, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 pair at that time. And then same thing happened, like 15 minutes, they were all sold. And so lo and behold, that's now, trickled into, growing it from nothing. She has, this great business where she's making these earrings full time. And her business is called Geminos Handcrafted Jewelry. And Geminos is actually Latin for twins. And the reason that she named it that is because she is actually a twin.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's got a nice meaning behind it as far as, her family goes and our family. And so it's gone from, an idea that she had to, now she's doing this full time. And, it's been wonderful, and she's able to, work from home and be with the kids more and support me in my real estate career, which is always important. And yeah, I just wanted to,
That's awesome.
just talk about that just because it was something, COVID related, like startup, that I'm seeing a lot of people saying, hey, I had time to kind of rethink what I wanted to do with my life. And
you know what, dude? I'm going to have to tell you this. When are you or your wife going to start using services from me or my wife? Because, how many houses have we bought from you? And my wife
all right,
is buying your wife's earrings.
I know. I see that, but I'm like,
It's like a one-way street. Carmen's taking, or Winters taking advantage of the Popkos. Come on.
No, I don't. I certainly don't want to do that.
I know.
So,
I'm only kidding.
No,
I've got nothing to offer you.
No. I'm always trying to send clients to you for.
I'm kidding.
For print work, but
I'm only kidding. It's just funny because yes, my wife has been a buyer of the earrings several times. You know
what I want, actually. I kind of want like that. All right, so the hat that you're wearing.
Yeah, Richardson. You can't find it anywhere.
I have one Richardson hat, which I love. It's my favorite hat.
They're great hats.
Yeah, it's like super comfortable. Mm-hmm. I love the look of it. It's fits
nice,
right? The height is perfect.
Right.
It's got like, and these are things that like you're I don't know, maybe I think too much about hats or something, but
no, I mean, not at all.
All right, so what I want is like that hat, but like, so I want our Lewith and Freeman LF logo, but in like, I want the whole thing in like matte black, just one color. Mm-hmm. So if I can order those from you, I want to make that happen.
Well, like I said, trying to find a Richardson hat right now is like nearly impossible.
Wow, what's the story? Like what?
They
Just
used
powder
to they
burning or
used to
powder.
manufacture like millions of hats a month, and then with COVID and stuff on ships, like they haven't been doing anything. It's terrible. Trying to find inventory on clothing right now is insane.
Is that
Not to mention,
but we didn't even talk about that. Is that like a challenge that you guys are facing right
oh
now?
yeah, not to mention the price increases across the board, like just blanks in general.
Yeah,
Since I started a year ago, they've doubled in cost.
doubled.
Ink has increased. Obviously, labor has gone up. It's everything. And it's insane.
Yeah, and ultimately, right? Like, that gets passed on to the consumer because business needs to stay open, and
Yeah.
how else is that going to happen? And and it's a trickle effect all the way down, right?
Yep.
It's everything. And the same thing with like, lumber was crazy for a while. It's come down,
Yep.
but there was a period where it was wild, and it's certainly had an effect on prices of of new construction homes. And I was talking with some builders, and not so much lately, but about a year ago, they were building homes, and this is kind of crazy to think they were having issues with new construction because of when buyers were going and they were applying for financing on the new construction property, right? It has to meet appraisal standards in order for the bank to lend the money. And what was happening was it was costing so much to build the house that the lenders were not able to appraise the properties appropriately because there were no comparables at that price per square foot to give the buyer the money. So it was a challenge that buyers were having to either bring more, or they were having to like maybe make concessions on what they were doing with the house itself to finish some things later, to make the pricing work. It was just a lot of challenges that you wouldn't normally see. But these types of things were coming into play because the cost of materials were so much that the builder they can't work for free either. So
Right.
they had to make a margin on it too.
Yeah, I remember that they said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and I was just like, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad and it's just gonna be bad for a long time. It's just gonna have such a long term impact that I don't think people are even like thinking about right now. It's crazy.
I remember thinking that when they were like when the economy essentially like shut down, like no one's doing anything. I remember thinking like there's going to be really, really, really bad long-term effects of this. Like even
Mhm.
like hitting the pause button even for whatever, I don't remember how long it was, but even if it was a month, right? How long was it like that we couldn't like leave the house? Do you remember? I don't remember now.
I mean, I was working from home for almost 3 months, 2.5 months.
Yeah,
So I mean, it was probably 2 months, maybe. I don't know.
it was around 2 months, I think. I remember it was like mid-March to like, yeah, it was like Mother's Day. It was definitely around that
Yeah.
time where you could kind of like rejoin society again. And for whatever reason, like my wife and I, we always, during that period, it was like, God, it was like Groundhog's Day every day. Right. Like it was like, yeah, there's only so much you could do. The weather was terrible. I remember,
Mhm.
I remember feeling like it was like 40 and cloudy for like six
Uh,
straight weeks. It's just like the
yeah.
weather would just not break. And it was like, what are we going to do? We'll take the boys for a walk with the dog. We'll do that twice a day. Right. It was like,
A lot of walks.
there was just not a lot going on. You couldn't really go anywhere. And it was challenging. And I remember thinking like the economic effects, um, this is gonna be really bad. And so I think a lot of that is now, starting to come to light a little bit
Yeah.
as far as the longer term effects. But um, I think it was, yeah, that 2 weeks was a little naive. I think it was I wasn't expecting 2 years.
No, how about it? We're 2 years removed from the start. Like, how
That doesn't
crazy.
that doesn't seem possible. And I think back on it, that's been like that's been Charlie's whole life has been the pandemic, right? Like it's and like your son, right? Like 2 years ago, it's like he was still like, he's in diapers, right? Like he's a
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah. And I was reading something somewhere like children now like, are having like speech delays because they are wearing masks with like in class and shit like that. So like they're not able to see the mouths of other children talking. So it's
Interesting.
causing like speech delays.
Wow.
I never would have thought about that.
Never.
You know, it's
Oh,
just it's crazy to think about how like we as people and humans like we learn from watching others. Like how to mouth words and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess without being like a speech therapist, I would have never thought there was a correlation with that, but it makes sense now that you say it out loud. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that would make sense. Oh,
I
that's
don't know
interesting.
where I don't know where I saw that, but I mean, if I'm making it up, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me though.
Hopefully that's something that is quickly correctable, and that,
Yeah.
just a delay. That's not like a long-term thing,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of issues like, the kids that are, we're in high school and even like elementary school and junior high, like the effect that is going to have on, 2 years of their life under homeschooling and masks and whatever it might be. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm starting to see now even our local schools are starting to have a kind of removing the mask mandate, making it optional. Be interesting to see what effect that has, if it's positive, negative. I mean, I certainly have no data to go off of to make
Right.
a determination either way, but it'll just something to talk about
Yeah.
that's starting to happen locally.
This will be in the history books for sure.
Oh, it will. Yeah. It definitely will be.
Maybe
Yeah.
this whole thing, maybe this is just a giant experiment. Government experiment.
I hope not. That would.
Could you imagine that? Holy shit. I hope not.
Oh, God.
So
It would that would be like, that would be, you know what though? Here, truthfully, how would that ever even come out to be that was like, what I'm getting at is, right? Now there's so much negativity with mainstream media that, like, if that were even to come out as a story, like
you
an
wouldn't
actual,
believe it.
yeah, people wouldn't like. It's terrible to say that, but it's like, even like what you would consider like trusted news sources, like there would be such opposition from whoever disagreed with that there would be just no way to no one would ever really know the truth.
We don't. And I mean, they dropped aliens on us and no one even batted an eye.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Sure. If you say so. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world.
Yeah. That's the gist.
So
We could talk all night, I'm sure, but
we could, dude. We could. I might piss my pants.
well, don't do that.
I've been chugging water all day. I can't get hydrated. Those 6 hours of my life spent in the bathroom was
That had to be a scene in there. You
buddy.
have to light it on fire.
I'm like, where's do we have a bucket? Like, can I use this garbage can? Like, I can't do both at the same time. Yeah, I haven't been that sick in years. It's probably been over a decade. It was
You know what? I have to give a shout out to a new friend that I told her I was going to be doing this podcast with you. And she said, "See if Johnny needs to sleep in the treehouse anytime soon."
Doherty.
I'm sure you'll. Yes, I'm
Doherty.
sure. Yes.
Doherty.
Yeah.
Where'd you see her at?
She said, "Ask Johnny about the treehouse."
Oh, that was a mess. Where'd you see her at?
I can't tell you, but
You can't tell me. All right. Good old Joe. Good old Tom and Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So Joe said,
I'll text them later.
Joe said, "Yeah, I know you know John." And I said, "Actually, I'm going to see John on Thursday."
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh." So I'm going to watch that. I said, "I hope you do. I think it's going to be great."
Yeah. Yeah. You waited till like the 2.5 hour mark.
I'm going to tell her, listen, just fast forward. Like,
No, you gotta watch all of it, Joe. Yo, if she only knew. And we were young. We were young, hanging out at their house.
Yeah, she said you were
Like,
there a lot.
TJ, your mom, buddy. And we'd like bust on his dad too. Like, she's a very attractive woman, right? And we weren't shy about that to his father or him. And his dad would just like punch us like in the arm, like just like for looking at the wrong way.
Just like a hard punch too.
Yeah, like just keeping us in check. It was the best. And they're good people.
You need friends like that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, all right, man. This has been fun.
Yes.
It's always good to catch up.
Always. If there's anything you need, vice versa. I know you're a guy.
I know you don't need anything from me, so that's for sure. Emil will buy another house, or Amanda will buy another pair of earrings. No big deal.
Yeah, oh yeah, keep buying. Oh, no,
All right,
but
man. Take care. Nice. We gotta do the get together with the kids. So
we will, and we will. No, really, keep me in mind with the Disney trip. That would be amazing.
for sure,
I'd love to hang out with you guys for a day.
absolutely.
I know.
All right, man. Well, I'm proud of you for everything you've accomplished, and I expect to see more great things down the road.
Very good. I
All right,
appreciate
man.
that.
All right. Thanks.
Bye
All
bye.
right. See you.